I stood at the threshold of my own home, feeling like a stranger in a place that was once my sanctuary. The laughter of my children echoed through the halls, but it felt more like a distant memory than a comforting sound. I had spent 30 years building a life with my wife, and yet, in that moment, I felt utterly alone. 6 months ago, our daughter moved back in after a breakup. I remember the day she came to us, her eyes filled with tears, her heart heavy. I wanted to help her find her footing again. I suggested we help her get an apartment, a fresh start, but my wife, in her infinite wisdom, called me heartless. She needs us right now, she said, and I could see the resolve in her eyes. So our daughter moved back in, and I tried to be supportive, even if it felt like a weight was being added to my shoulders. Then, 4 months later, our son followed suit. He had moved away for a job right out of college, but now, with a promotion in the city, he returned home. I should have been happy, right? Family together again. But instead, I felt the walls closing in. Our bills skyrocketed. Utilities, groceries, everything was more expensive with two adults back under our roof. I tried to talk to my wife about it, but she brushed my concerns aside. You should be grateful they're home, she said, as if my worries were trivial. I felt trapped. I loved my kids, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were taking advantage of our kindness. I approached them, one by one, hoping to find some understanding. I wanted them to see my side, to realize that they were adults now, capable of standing on their own. But instead of gratitude, I was met with tears and whispers to their mother. It was as if I had become the villain in my own story. Frustration boiled inside me. I couldn't keep living like this, so I made a decision. I talked to my boss and took a contract that would send me out of town for a month at a time. I hadn't wanted to do it. After all, I was older now and I had seniority. But the thought of escaping the chaos at home was too tempting. I put my share of the budget into our shared account and left. The first month away was blissful. I had a hotel room to myself, a little slice of freedom. I was given a living allowance of $160 a day, and I reveled in it. I called my wife every day, checking in, trying to stay connected. She assured me everything was fine, that the kids were adjusting. I felt a sense of relief wash over me, a break from the tension that had been building. When I returned home for my week off, I felt lighter. I went for morning walks, had breakfast at local cafes, and enjoyed the solitude. I was finally able to breathe. But then, the second month came, and my wife reached out for money while I was away. Confused, I asked why. The budget isn't covering the bills, she said, her voice tinged with desperation. I asked for proof, needing to understand how our agreed upon budget had suddenly failed us. You know why, she snapped, frustration evident in her tone. It was as if she believed I was blind to the reality of our situation. I told her to make the kids contribute more, to step up as adults, but she wouldn't hear of it. Instead, she dipped into her savings, and I felt the anger bubbling inside me. The third month was a turning point. We were talking, and she mentioned that the kids were giving her money, but it wasn't enough. They're only giving me $100 each, she said, her voice strained. I was shocked. How could they think that was sufficient? They were all working full-time jobs, earning nearly twice what I did. I felt a wave of indignation wash over me. I wasn't going to pay to house and feed three adults who could easily support themselves. My wife's pleas became more frequent. She was skipping beauty appointments, missing out on time with her friends, all because she was trying to make ends meet. I felt torn. I loved her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was enabling our kids. I had tried to talk to them, but they had gone to their mother, and she had painted me as the villain. I was the monster for wanting them to take responsibility for their own lives. I didn't want to be the bad guy. I wanted to support my family, but I also wanted to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I had worked hard to build a comfortable life, and now it felt like I was being asked to sacrifice it all for adults who were perfectly capable of standing on their own 2 feet. As I sat in my hotel room during that third month, I reflected on everything. I thought about my wife, my kids, and the life we had built together. I didn't want to divorce over this, but I felt like I was losing my sense of self. I was a grumpy old man, yes, but I had earned my right to privacy, to enjoy my home without the chaos of adult children living under my roof. I knew I had to make a choice. I could either continue to fight this battle, or I could step back and let them figure it out. I chose the latter. I decided to let them deal with their own expenses. I didn't want to be the one to carry the weight of their choices anymore. As I packed my bags for another month away, I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. It was taking control of my life again, reclaiming my space. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I had to stand firm in my decision. I had to believe that my kids would eventually understand. And as I drove away from home, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I was leaving behind a family I loved, but I was also stepping into a new chapter of my life, one where I could finally breathe again. Subscribe for more stories.